There's a gleam, men. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
That is some group of people, thousands. So nice, thank you very much. That's really nice, thank you.
What did I say? I'm not gloating, but what did I say? Did I not say that we were winning? We rocked them, Bama's. We rocked them. Nigga, you see me coming on that plane?
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems. And they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have protection, and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast.
Sure.
Yes, I'm sure, bitch. I got the head of the CIA right here. He'll tell you.
Can I ask you a question?
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I
one.
ask you a question about?
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not
You don't.
responded to these
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have.
Guess that means you need to shut the up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would up. Shut the
You held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to
That's
answer.
why I asked it.
It's very simple that you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the document?
I was negotiating and we were talking to...
It was $35,000. $35,000 cash money? No, I give $35,000 plus one, right? The one I gave. No, you gave me six, though, right? That was one. I had one. It was six, and it's $35,000 plus one plus six was seven. $35,000 and seven, right? Motherfucker, can you buy that?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CBS.
Damn, I know I shouldn't have called on this nigga. I shouldn't have called on you because you're always trying to distract motherfucker. Fine, I'll answer your stupid-ass question.
I plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
Stop worrying about that. I got that under control.
Yes, Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country.
That means you need to shut up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would up. Shut the
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slant because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them.
We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children.
Shut the
just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore.
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
All right. Hi. Thanks for the fun.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, especially those of you on the replay. Welcome to Ticks. As I said yesterday, I was going to cover the Trump effect on China with the tariffs, and this comes courtesy of the China Observer. All right. Very good website here dealing with China, and that's all they cover is China. And good Lord, it's like I don't even know where to start. Their latest video, which came out an hour ago, under the tariff war, CCP promotes brick moving wealth, but Mayo style brainwashing is failing. Then you got a bigger bomb than the tariff war is about to explode in China. The Xi Jinping acts tough, but ends up kneeling as China quietly cuts tariffs. Matter of fact, let's start there. And then I'll show you why.
On April 25th, a list of 131 products eligible for potential tax exemption began circulating widely across Chinese social media, business networks, and trade organizations. The list includes items like semiconductors, vaccines, medical devices, ethylene, and other chemical raw materials, as well as advanced technologies such as jet engines. CNN and sources from Shenzhen traders reported that Chinese customs have quietly lifted the 125% punitive tariff on certain U.S. semiconductor products, specifically integrated circuit chips, excluding storage chips, under 8 tariff codes. These products now only face a 13% value-added tax. One Shanghai-based company even received notice that it could apply for a refund on tariffs overpaid between April 10th and 24th. Further reports from Reuters revealed that the Chinese Ministry of Commerce has set up a task force to gather goods that may qualify for these exemptions and is actively encouraging businesses to submit applications. Bloomberg added that Beijing is considering expanding the exemption to cover medical equipment, ethane, and even taxes on airplane leasing. This move is widely interpreted as a temporary measure for the Chinese Communist Party to ease the strain on businesses, signaling the significant toll the ongoing trade war is taking on China's economy. Michael Hart, chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce in China, confirmed that some chamber members had not been charged new tariffs on imported goods in the past week, indicating that the exemption policy has already started to be implemented. According to South Korea's newspaper Jun'an Ilbo, on the morning of April 24th, a senior official from China's Ministry of Finance led a delegation of around 10 people into the U.S. Department of the Treasury building near the White House for secret talks. Although the official's identity was not disclosed, processed photos were published, showing a Chinese official strongly preventing media photography and demanding reporters delete their photos, highlighting the sensitivity of the event. This incident confirms U.S. President Trump's statement during an interview on April 23rd, claiming that the U.S. and China are in direct communication every day regarding trade issues. But despite more...
Yeah, because as I was saying yesterday, China is like an Asian thing where they like to save face. They never want to be shown up. They have to always be shown to be in control. All right. It's almost like it's like the confident tough guy act without the violence. You understand? They have to have that, or else they're seen as weak.
Multiple pieces of evidence showing that China has started reducing tariffs and engaging in talks. Its official stance continues to deny these developments, maintaining a tough stance. At a regular press conference on April 24th, CCP spokesperson He Yadong said,
目前中美之间未进行任何 Right now, there haven't been any trade talks between China and the US. Any claims about progress in trade negotiations are just rumors with no factual basis.
At another press briefing, Foreign Ministry spoke,
which was, do understand, during yesterday's press briefing, when they asked the Secretary of Treasury about that, like, hey, well, are you guys talking to China? You remember, they asked him and they asked Caroline Leavitt, and they was like, hey, like, we have no word on that. Like, we can't speak on that. Like, even though you could tell just by their answer, because they didn't say no and they didn't say yes, they just said they couldn't speak on it. But as Trump was saying, like, no, we've been talking.
Person Guo Jiaqun also stated there have been no consultation or negotiations between China and the US regarding tariffs, let alone an agreement. He called reports on the matter fake news. Trump quickly countered the CCP's denials. On April 24th, during a meeting with Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre at the White House, he told the media that just that morning, China and the US had held talks and that the US had been in continuous talks with China. Notably, on April 25th, the CCP's Politburo held a meeting to discuss coordinating domestic economic work and international economic and trade struggles, proposing more proactive macroeconomics policies to address the current situation. This statement reflects the growing concern within the CCP leadership over the negative impact of the trade war on China's economy. Soon after, more explosive news came to light. In an interview with the Time magazine on April 25th, Trump revealed that Xi Jinping had personally called him and emphasized that he wouldn't have made the call if Xi hadn't reached out first. Trump said, he called, and I don't think that's a sign of weakness on his behalf. He further predicted that within 3 to 4 weeks, the US would reach a new deal with trade partners and emphasized that tariff policies are based on thorough intelligence, setting fair tax rates for different countries. Gordon Chang, a senior fellow at the US think tank Gatestone Institute, pointed out on Fox Business Channel's Varney & Co. program on April 25th that the CCP is quietly granting tariff exemptions on US goods without publicly announcing them to avoid acknowledging compromise. He analyzed that China's economy is facing challenges such as negative consumer and producer product indices, shrinking GDP, and a decline in tax revenues for the first quarter of 2025. He warned that the prolonged trade war will exacerbate these problems. After holding firm against US tariffs, the world is now closely watching when China and the US will begin negotiations, especially when the leaders of the two countries will speak. All the signs suggest that not only are the US and China talking, but China has already started to make substantial concessions. In other words, while Xi Jinping appears tough on the surface, he has effectively softened his stance. However, the CCP continues its traditional approach of maintaining a strong verbal front. On April 28th, during a regular press conference by the CCP's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a Phoenix TV reporter mentioned President Trump's statement that Xi Jinping had called him. In response, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gao Jiaqun said,
据我了解，近期两国元首没有通话。
From what I understand, the two leaders haven't had any calls recently. I want to emphasize that China and the US have not had any consultations or negotiations on the tariff issue.
So the question arises, if China is quietly reducing tariffs and compromising, why won't the CCP admit it? Since it has Xi Jinping who made the call and China's officials have already visited Washington for talks, why does the CCP continue to deny it? On April 23rd, Wu Ting, a Chinese-American deputy political counselor at the US mission of the United Nations, accurately summed up the situation in her speech at the Security Council.
中国言行不一，说一套
China's actions don't match its words. Senior commentator Wang Youchun analyzed that the CCP denies US-China negotiations for 3 reasons. First, it's about preserving face. The CCP refuses to admit the negotiations with the US to protect the image of being great, glorious, and correct. Faced with Trump's reciprocal tariffs, China openly opposed and retaliated, but was forced to negotiate privately due to international isolation. Publicly acknowledging this would damage its reputation, so the CCP continues to deny it. Second, it's about prioritizing power. The CCP places the security of its regime first. Domestically, it must maintain an image of strength, no concessions, and fighting to the end. Admitting any goodwill towards the US could be seen as weakness or surrender, which would upset the domestic population, fuel internal power struggles, and weaken the CCP's control. Therefore, the CCP continues to deny negotiations to show its determination to fight the US and maintain authority over the Chinese people. Third, the CCP has a habitual tendency to lie. Having ruled for 76 years through repression and deception, the CCP's propaganda machine is skilled at distorting the truth. Even after Trump and South Korean media exposed evidence of the talks, the CCP continued to deny negotiations, attempting to conceal the truth. So, why is the CCP now showing signs of compromise? The primary reason is economic pressure. US tariffs of 145% have caused Chinese exports to the US market to collapse. According to the Financial Times, the volume of 20-foot standard container bookings on China-US routes fell by 45% in mid-April. And the Port of Los Angeles expects a one-third drop in container volume by early May. Major export hubs like Yiwu and Dongguan have seen widespread factory shutdowns, with industries such as toys, sports goods, and low-cost consumer products bearing the brunt. Order losses, stockpile buildup, and broken supply chains have left countless factories in dire straits, spreading like a virus across the country. Experts warn that this wave of collapse will eventually lead to a structural crisis in China's manufacturing sector, triggering mass unemployment and a supply chain crisis. On top of that, some industries in China are also highly dependent on key imports from the US. For example, the core material for China's plastic industry, ethane, is 98% imported from the US. If the US cuts off supply, China's plastic industry could be paralyzed. The semiconductor and aerospace industries are also heavily affected, with key parts for the C919 aircraft, such as engines and landing gear, relying on US imports. A supply disruption would severely damage these industries. In the long run, the trade war is extremely detrimental to the CCP. The longer it drags on, the more foreign businesses will move their supply chain to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico, or even back to the US. Moreover, the trend of deglobalization exacerbating the CCP's difficulties. Countries like Vietnam and Thailand are strictly cracking down on transshipment trade, and India has imposed a 12% tariff on steel to prevent Chinese products from flooding the market. The CCP has attempted to rally up support from Africa, Asian, and Latin American countries through UN meetings, announcing zero tariffs on the least developed countries, but their trade volumes have little impact on China's economy and cannot reverse the downturn. The EU has also shown indifference to the CCP's attempt to gain support, indicating its increasing isolation on the international stage. On April 25th, Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One that he would not lift tariffs on Chinese goods unless the CCP makes substantial concessions. He called for China to fully open its market to allow US products to enter freely, which would mean state-owned and central enterprises would have to compete fairly with American companies. For inefficient, monopolistic, state-owned enterprises, this would be a fatal blow, with bankruptcy almost inevitable. These enterprises are the financial lifeblood of CCP elites and the economic pillars of its rule, and their collapse would shake the foundation of CCP power. Furthermore, a fair and open market environment conflicts fundamentally with the CCP's centralized system. After industrial civilization matures, the public will inevitably demand rights and political reform, something the CCP's regime cannot tolerate. Therefore, under internal and external pressure, the CCP's private compromise and concessions on tariff may be a temporary solution. However, there is another view circulating in Chinese-speaking circles regarding Xi Jinping's apparent submission. Current affair commentator Fang Wei has put forward a widely discussed opinion. China's compromise is not only due to economic pressure, but is closely tied to internal power struggles. According to his sources, Xi Jinping's power has significantly weakened after the CCP's 20th Central Committee third plenary session in 2024 due to health issues. Fang Wei revealed that Xi Jinping had fallen into a coma for over 10 days due to a health crisis, during which CCP elders like Wen Jiabao Zhu Rongji and Hu Jintao, along with current vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, Zhang Youxia, seized power and stripped Xi Jinping of his military and political authority. Although
I don't believe that. I don't believe. Why would he slip into it? He just mysteriously slipped into a coma. He woke up. Oh my God, I'm in a coma. How did this happen?
Xi Jinping remains in the public eye, he has effectively become a puppet, with decision-making power resting in the hands of the CCP elders. This was evidenced by the recent public humiliation of Xi Jinping by the wife of former Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. If she had not lost power, it's hard to imagine that someone with significant interest in China like Lee's wife would dare to behave this way. Fang Wei pointed out that the CCP's recent quiet reduction on tariff is an action taken by the party elders to address the economic crisis. The CCP recently replaced its international trade representative with the new representative Li Chenggang, who is aligned with the New Power faction, engaging in secret talks with the US. However, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Commerce, which are controlled by Xi Jinping, were not involved, leading to the public denial of the negotiations. This also explains why Trump stated that these two sides talk every day, while the CCP continues to deny it. Fang Wei also mentioned that the change in the CCP's internal propaganda aligns with a shift in power. In the Politburo meeting reports, Xi Jinping's signature slogans such as 2 establishes and 2 safeguards have disappeared, indicating that his influence has been deliberately minimized. At the same time, Li Keqiang's 6 stabilization policy was reintroduced, signaling that the party elders are trying to return to an economy-first approach. However, the newer power faction has not yet clarified its future direction, and there is no willingness to take responsibility for the challenges created under Xi Jinping's leadership. As a result, economic diplomacy is still officially handled by Xi, bearing all the risk and shame. Renowned commentator Tang Jingyuan has expressed similar views. In a recent video, he pointed out that the anti-Xi forces strategy for dealing with the crisis is to push Xi Jinping to the forefront, whether he acts as a wolf warrior offending others or compromising. He is left to bear the consequences. Success means shared benefits, but failure is solely his responsibility, and he could even be discarded as a scapegoat. Xi Jinping, once an ambitious leader of the center with great potential, is now reduced to the fate of a puppet, a result entirely of his own making. Recently famous financial blogger Lau Man analyzed in a YouTube video that the US-China trade war is a result of a series of misjudgments. Both the US and China made significant strategic errors. However, these misjudgments led to vastly different outcomes. The US's misjudgment resulted in an early confrontation, but it has led to a very positive outcome for the US. In contrast, China's misjudgment led to a premature collapse of its economy, a situation that the Chinese government cannot withstand. The biggest mistake made by the Trump administration was overestimating China's strength. In recent years, China has rapidly grown in fields such as military, aerospace, and new energy, appearing to thrive. At the same time, China has used checkbook diplomacy in Africa and Latin America, providing endless financial support to these countries in exchange for their backing on the international stage. For these external indicators, China's economy appeared to be very strong, even invincible. However, what Trump did not know was that China's economy had already been drained by a 20-year real estate bubble. The top 2% of the red elite controls 82% of the wealth, while the wealth gap has become unquantifiable. The 1.3 billion ordinary Chinese people have no social security for healthcare or pensions and lack any real purchasing power. China's economy is highly dependent on exports, with 40% of its industrial products needing to be exported. Additionally, 16% of industrial products must be sold directly or indirectly to the US. Therefore, China lacks the ability to face a full-scale economic slowdown with the US. The Trump administration's premature confrontation with the CCP at the exact moment when China's economy and politics were at their most vulnerable has put the Chinese government in an awkward position with no viable response. China's biggest mistake was underestimating Trump's determination to change the status quo. Since the 1950s, the US has maintained global peace and prosperity for 70 years by exporting purchasing power. But this model has come at a high cost. First, depleting gold reserves 1950s to 1970s, and later relying on debt printing 1970s to 2020s, with national debt soaring to 36 trillion US dollars, and interest accounting for 20% of fiscal revenue, making it unsustainable. Moreover, the US industry has hollowed out. The Rust Belt has suffered bankruptcies, and the public discontent has grown. Trump's election was a response to public opinion. Leading an anti-China cabinet, Trump is determined to end globalization and establish a new set of rules, while reshaping American manufacturing. Therefore, the US government is not likely to back down on tariffs with China. China, on the other hand, was completely ignorant of the US situation. China's state media continuously reported that Trump had backed down and that there was infighting among US officials. These false stories amused the Chinese public. They kept imagining that the US would surrender the next day, automatically reducing tariffs to zero. China misjudged Trump's resolve, relying only on rhetoric and false propaganda without any real strategies. Lau Man believes that by 2025, China's economy will be on the brink of a collapse, with bankruptcies, rising unemployment, debt crisis, and social unrest risk nearing 100%. The central bank's unanchored money printing will be ineffective as the financial order collapses. However, economic collapse and social unrest are China's reckoning. Only through experiencing chaos will the Chinese people have a chance to reflect and rebuild a new order from the ruins. Perhaps this is the real turning point for China, a nation that reeks of decay. In conclusion, the CCP's current private compromise is merely a temporary concession in the trade war, unable to change its long-term economic and political decline. Behind this compromise lies a deeper crisis within the CCP's regime. Whether Xi Jinping continues as a puppet or a new power faction takes over, the CCP will struggle to find a way out under mounting internal and external pressures. As Lau Man suggests, economic collapse and social unrest may provide the opportunity for China to rebuild, but this process will inevitably be painful.
So it looks like their leadership is collapsing. And let's see here. The CCP is cornered by the tariff war. Let's see. Oh, they just dropped something else. China's biggest loss from the trade war is a population crisis with a wedding collapse in the first quarter. Let's go. Oh, look, you see one of their EVs caught fire. Wow, 4 of them. Burned down an entire street. But here we go. All right, so China's running out of money, rich people selling luxury goods. All right, let's check this out. Luckily, these are short videos.
The drop in spending has gotten really serious. I used to own 4 or 5 Hermes bags. I especially loved the Lindy. I bought 3 or 4 of those, maybe even more. As for Louis Vuitton, I've lost count. But honestly, I didn't even like carrying LV bags, so I ended up selling all of them. There was a time I stayed at home for over a year. Some of my businesses failed, some I handed over to others. Basically, I had no income at all. I only had a little savings, and the returns were about 2,000 to 3,000 yuan a month. That's like being on minimum support. I lived super frugally for more than a year. Only in the past 6 months have I started doing live stream sales, but now I don't carry any of my LV or Hermes bags. I just use a canvas bag I bought on Pinduoduo for 17 yuan. That's just over $2. Bags, in the end, are just things. Unless I come across something I really, really love, I don't plan to buy any more designer bags. I've come to believe that if something is cheap, then it's good. I used to not even bother with clothes that were under 2,000 yuan if they were thick, or under 800 yuan if they were thin. I just swiped my card without a second thought. But now, this shirt I'm wearing today cost 17 yuan with free shipping from Pinduoduo. These camel wide-leg pants were 50 yuan, also shipped free. I only buy clothes from Pinduoduo now. I don't even shop on Taobao anymore, let alone go to the mall. I just search for the cheapest options. To me, Pinduoduo clothes are the cheapest, and you can return them for free too. But honestly, I hardly ever return anything. They're so cheap that I already feel lucky just to be able to get them. I'm done with spending big on bags and clothes. I only buy them if they're the absolute cheapest. If not, I don't even consider it. One person commented that this woman's story is a powerful example of how economic changes are deeply affecting how people spend. Going from high-end luxury brands to Pinduoduo's 17 yuan bags isn't just a downgrade. It's a way of coping with financial pressure and reevaluating what really matters. Another person joked, when someone who used to own several Hermes bags say, bags are just things, it really hits different. The shift isn't just a personal change, it's practically a snapshot of today's economy. For years, Hermes built a fortress of luxury with rare products, exquisite craftsmanship, and a strong appeal to the ultra-wealthy. Bags like the Birkin and Kelly weren't just fashion items, they were status symbols, markers of unshakable wealth. But now, an economic chill from the East is starting to reshape the luxury market. Honestly, I think this trend of spending less might not be reversible. Just the other day, I had dinner with a friend in Shanghai who makes 1 million yuan a year. She used to chase Hermes and Chanel like crazy. This year, she's completely downgraded to Longchamp. Back then, we used to feel like we had to get Cartier or Van Cleef in our pels. Like, if you didn't have that Alhambra necklace, something was missing. But this year, everyone's into gold, jade, and pearls instead. People just don't want to pay that premium for the brand anymore. They'd rather buy something that actually holds value. In the past, when we got together, we'd talk about which new bag, jewelry, or shoes we had our eyes on. Now, everyone's comparing what amazing bargains they found or how much they saved. And it's not just consumers turning away from...
Damn it. Sorry. Yeah, they're starting to feel the crunch. They're not the pinch, but the crunch. The crunch. I mean, they're going... China... I mean, understand, these people are under communism, but they can still waste their money as if they're in America. But as you can see, woo, again, and in all honesty, this is what those tariffs, when the tariffs actually do come back and they hit, who's going to feel it the most are the ones who are perpetrating the fraud, as usual. You know what I'm talking about, people who they live in an apartment, but they driving an expensive foreign car or a Charger, you know, which like $1,000 a month and everything. But yet all of a sudden, 3 months later, their stuff is sitting outside. You know, the maintenance crew has evicted them. They don't even come back and get the stuff because they're so embarrassed. Or maybe they sneak back with the U-Haul late at night. That is, if coming to pick up whatever's been picked over. Or, as you know, we have a lot of women who front online like they've got it going on and everything, but truthfully, they're sleeping on somebody's couch, or maybe they're sleeping in their cars. I mean, some women are now not ashamed to make videos of how destitute their lives are. With the one girl, she was sleeping in her car and using the gym at her job to clean herself up and everything. I mean, those people are definitely going to feel the pinch because they're too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Hermes. In the first quarter of 2025, the company's financial report came as a cold shock. On April 17th, Hermes revealed that sales in Asia, excluding Japan, grew just 1.2%, far below analysts' expectations of 4%. That region, once fueled by China's strong demand, was considered a major growth engine. Overall revenue hit 4.1 billion euros, up 7.2% year-on-year, but still missed market expectations. Investors didn't take it well. The stock dropped immediately, though it recovered slightly later. That 1.2% growth figure caused a stir not because Hermes is collapsing. In fact, they saw 11% growth in the Americas. The concern is what the number represents. Economists say it shattered the illusion that China's luxury spending is limitless. It also broke the myth that Hermes is immune to economic cycles. Hermes CFO Eric Dualgue said the weaker performance was due to reduced foot traffic in Chinese stores, caused by the downturn in the real estate market, and also because of a high base last year. His explanation was diplomatic, as you'd expect in a corporate earnings call, but in China, the phrase real estate downturn carries a much heavier meaning. What's more, in the same week Hermes announced its earnings, its biggest rival, LVMH, also reported its results. The fashion and leather goods division at LVMH saw a surprise decline in sales, down 11% year-on-year in Asia, including China. The 1.2% growth reported by Hermes is seen as excellent compared to others. Bernard Arnault, the CEO of LVMH, also admitted that the situation at the beginning of the year was unstable, impacted by tariffs and geopolitical tensions. This contrast highlights several issues. First, the difference in market reliance. Hermes' sales in the Asia-Pacific region, excluding Japan, make up 48% of its total, while LVMH's share is around 30%. This means that fluctuations in the Chinese market have a much more direct and significant effect on Hermes. Second, looking at brand strategy, Hermes' extreme scarcity approach and its high net worth clientele give it an edge in withstanding economic downturns, compared to LVMH, which has a broader product line and a wider target audience. This explains why, even with weaker than expected results, Hermes' stock has remained relatively strong. In February, its market value even briefly surpassed 300 billion euros, about $341.2 billion US, and on April 15th, it overtook LVMH to become the most valuable luxury goods company in the world. Investors seem to trust Hermes' long-term stability, seeing it as a safe haven in turbulent markets. However, even a safe haven cannot fully escape the storm. A 1.2% growth, especially for Hermes, and a market used to double-digit growth, is a clear warning. It signals that China's economic problems have become so severe that even the wealthiest consumers can't completely shield themselves from its impact.
I've noticed that many people haven't realized just how serious the downgrade in consumer spending is. I went to a luxury goods outlet in Huangpo over the weekend, and I could barely find anything at full price. Items from brands like Balenciaga, McQueen, and Versace were priced at just a couple thousand yuan, while Armani and GCDS t-shirts were down to the low hundreds. In the past, you couldn't even buy these at such low prices.
In summary, China's market...
If she explains it, I'll explain it before she gets a chance to. Because they can't ship the stuff over to our market, they now have to burn off their inventory. They have to burn off their inventory. That's why you can get some great deals. Remember when the tariffs first hit on TikTok, on reseller sites and everything? Man, those people, they were selling Nikes and what else? The Jordans and everything. They were selling them for like at cost, like $1, $2, $8. All you had to do was pay for the shipping. Those people had to, I'll show you, they had to burn their inventory off.
It is really sick, and this illness is not mild. Hermes' lack of growth in China is not just a challenge for one company or industry, it reflects deeper issues with China's economy. For over a decade, the wealth of China's affluent class grew almost in sync with the real estate market's skyrocketing prices. Property weren't just places to live, but also the most important investment and a symbol of wealth. The sudden increase in paper wealth for many directly fueled a strong demand for luxury goods. For those who owned millions or even hundreds of millions in real estate, spending 100,000 yuan on an Hermes bag seemed trivial. The prosperity of real estate acted like a giant lever, driving exponential growth in luxury goods consumption. However, as the Chinese government has attempted to regulate the real estate market in recent years, with policies like the 3 red lines and housing for living, not for speculation. Yet these regulations have increased the risk of a hard landing in the real estate market. Major companies like Evergrande and Country Garden have faced massive crises, unfinished buildings are popping up everywhere, and home prices continue to drop. All of this is quickly eroding the balance sheets of the middle class and the wealthy. What was once paper wealth is now showing its fragility. As people realize their biggest asset is shrinking, or may even become a burden, their desire to spend on non-essential items naturally declines. Eric Dualgue, The CFO of Hermes mentioned that the decline in store traffic reflects the direct impact of the reversal of the wealth effect. When people feel pessimistic about their future income and anxious about the value of their assets, even if they still have some money, they tend to save more and cut back on conspicuous consumption. Naturally, the desire to shop at Hermes fades. This isn't just about money, it's about confidence. Confidence in the economy, in the safety of personal wealth, and even in the country's development path. All of it is shaking. However, many have suggested that attributing Hermes' slowdown in performance solely to the real estate downturn and the high base effect is a bit of a superficial explanation. We need to dig deeper into what has truly eroded consumer confidence and caused a market that was once a goldmine for global brands to now go cold. First, China's wealthy are gradually losing their sense of security under political pressure and wolf warrior diplomacy. Under Xi Jinping's leadership, China's domestic political environment has become increasingly tense, with tighter ideological control and shrinking social freedoms. On the international stage, China has adopted a confrontational stance, worsening its relations with Western countries. The US has raised tariffs on Chinese goods, and geopolitical risks, such as the situation across the Taiwan Strait, have cast a shadow over economic prospects. For China's affluent class and entrepreneurs, this combination of internal and external political changes creates a profound sense of insecurity. They're not only worried about the safety of their wealth, but also about personal safety and freedom. In this atmosphere, protecting life and assets becomes the priority. The conspicuous consumption of luxury goods might even draw unwanted attention and risk. This lack of security caused by political factors is another major reason behind the reduction in high-end consumption. At the same time, Xi Jinping's recent promotion of the Common Prosperity slogan, which is presented as a blueprint for social fairness, has sparked widespread concern among the wealthy and business community. This is especially true when combined with the crackdown on tech giants and the education industry. Many interpret this as the beginning of a new wealth distribution political movement. These concerns are not unfounded. In a system lacking independent judiciary and with weak property protection, wealth accumulation and ownership are always accompanied by uncertainty. When political winds shift, personal property can be redistributed because of a slogan or policy. This fundamental doubt about the stability of private property has significantly dampened the investment and consumption willingness of the wealthy. They're more inclined to move their assets overseas or hold cash and low-risk assets rather than buy luxury items that symbolize status and wealth. Potential Hermes customers might be too busy thinking about how to escape, rather than lining up for a new Birkin bag. Meanwhile, the US-China trade war has undoubtedly been one of the key external factors exacerbating China's consumption downgrade, and it has a significant negative impact on the domestic market. First, the tariffs imposed by the US directly impacted China's export manufacturing sector, leading to a decline in orders and squeezed profits. This has indirectly weakened the purchasing power of a significant portion of the population. Given this context, combined with factors about job prospects, consumer confidence has taken a heavy hit. People have become more cautious about spending on non-essential items, big-ticket goods, and brand-name products. In addition, to the wealthy, the legacy of the zero-COVID policy and the high unemployment rate among the youth have also severely impacted the potential Hermes consumer base. The nearly 3-year-long Dynamic Zero COVID policy has caused immeasurable damage to China's economy and society. Repeated lockdowns, factory shutdowns, and supply chain disruptions not only directly affected production and consumption, but also severely damaged the vitality of businesses and eroded public confidence. Although the policy abruptly shifted at the end of 2022, its after effects are still lingering. Many small and medium-sized businesses have shut down, income expectations have weakened, and the scars are still evident. What's even more concerning is that youth unemployment remains high. Although the official data once became so high that it stopped being published, after some optimizations and adjustments, it was later released, showing that the actual situation is even worse. The latest data from China's National Bureau of Statistics shows a slight improvement in the youth job market in March 2025. The unemployment rate for urban laborers aged 16 to 24, excluding students, was 16.5% in March, a small drop of 0.4 percentage points from 16.9% in February, ending a 2-month rising trend. However, it's important to note that this data comes from a new set of statistics adjusted by the National Bureau of Statistics. At the end of 2023, explicitly excluded students from the unemployment rate of the 16 to 24 age group. At the same time, the data also shows that the unemployment rate for the 25 to 29 age group, excluding students, was 7.2% in March, also slightly lower than the previous month. Although there's a marginal improvement in youth unemployment, the rate is still significantly higher than the overall national urban survey unemployment rate of 5.2%, showing that the employment situation for young people remains severe. Analysts point out that while March's data showed positive changes, youth unemployment is expected to remain a major focus for China's economy. Record numbers of university graduates will enter the job market this year. The effectiveness of related policies and the future direction of the job market will still need continued observation. Thus, while luxury consumption is mainly driven by the wealthy, overall societal confidence and expectations are interconnected. When pessimism spreads through the lower and middle classes, even the top-tier consumption cannot remain completely unaffected. Experts conclude that Hermès's case is a reflection of the economic difficulties under the current governance model of the Chinese Communist Party. Over-centralized power and inadequate protection of private property have continuously harmed economic vitality. Unless there are fundamental political and economic reforms, it will be difficult for China's economy to emerge from its current challenges, and the chill in the luxury market will be hard to dissipate. Some commentators also note that no brand, not even Hermès, can completely separate itself from the macroeconomic and political environment it operates in. The inherent fragility and unsustainability of China's economic model under the CCP are increasingly becoming apparent. The so-called Chinese miracle may be entering a phase that requires re-examination and questioning.
All right, so let me show you what's going on in their warehouse district. Let's see here. Let's see here. Here we go. All right, so this was 2 days ago. So let's see, the most terrifying crisis, China's manufacturing structure collapses, spreading like a virus. All right.
This is the scene of a furniture factory closure in Guangzhou. Pieces of fabric that were still being sewn hang from the sewing machines. The warehouse is full of raw materials, and there are some finished sofas and other furniture lying around. The place looks deserted and sad. The person who posted the video said the factory shut down and the owner moved on. After struggling year after year, they still couldn't make it. This is how tough the furniture industry is right now. Since the second round of the US-China trade war began, high tariffs have practically frozen trade between the two countries. It has badly hurt China's export manufacturing industry. Factories lost orders, warehouses piled up with goods, and many businesses ran out of money. Even worse, it's not just direct export factories that are suffering. Entire supply chains are collapsing too. Those once busy industrial parks are now quiet. Factory closures, production stops, and bosses running away are spreading across China like a virus.
决定了，不干了。
I've made up my mind. I'm done. I'm selling the equipment and shutting down the factory. I'll never touch manufacturing again. I thought if I could survive 2023 and 2024, things might get better in 2025. But since the beginning of the year, there's been no sign of hope.
On April 26, in Kaiping City, Guangdong, the boss of Yihong Garment Factory ran away in the middle of the night. Many workers gathered at the factory gates demanding their wages. There was a police car at the scene, and it looked like the government was stepping in. Another video showed that late into the night, many workers and suppliers were still at the factory, waiting for the police to help solve the problems with unpaid wages and money owed for goods.
I'm not laughing that those people got stiff, but it's just, I mean, the tariffs killed him. The tariffs killed his business. He didn't have the money. Whatever little money I put it to you like this. The way I look at it, he's going to do what Umar is going to do eventually, is that run away like a thief in the night with whatever money he has left. Like now it's just a matter of the local government or the government there in China finding out where he went, because you got to pay your workers. You got to pay your workers. They're not going to let them get away with that, but man, they are suffering. Let's continue.
On April 25th, a person in Shanghai posted a video showing an empty factory workshop that used to cover tens of thousands of square meters. Now it's completely deserted. On April 24th, the boss of a brand name clothing factory in Guangdong looked very worried while staring at piles of branded materials stacked at the warehouse. These materials were meant for big European and American brands, but now with tariffs going up, all the orders have been cancelled, and the factory had no choice but to declare bankruptcy. A second-hand equipment dealer in Guangdong has seen this happen again and again, factories shutting down and selling off equipment at low prices. On April 20th, he bought a batch of CNC machines. The factory owner had just invested in building the plant but hadn't even started full production. Because of the trade war, he saw no future and decided to shut down before even getting started.
现在开工厂做老板
What are the chances of surviving as a factory owner these days? Every factory I see is shutting down. Another one just collapsed, and it hadn't even started yet. This owner invested more than 1 million yuan into a batch of CNC machines, planning to go big. After running a few dozen hours of tests and not even feeling confident enough to produce a sample, he decided to sell everything. Maybe that was a smart choice. The reality is, it ended before it even began. After all that effort, how much money will be lost on these machines?
On April 24th, workers at a factory in Dongguan gathered to protest. Their boss had suddenly disappeared, the factory shut down, and several months of wages were left unpaid. The person who posted the video said, "I never thought a big factory with hundreds of people could shut down just like that." Some people in the comments warned, "Be careful, during the May Day holiday, don't travel too far. You might come back and find your factory gone." Others said, "The economy is bad this year. It's not surprising that bosses are running away." On the same day, hundreds of workers gathered at Guangxing Sporting Goods Company in Daoxian, Hunan Province. They were protesting the factory's closure without any compensation. According to public information, this company was founded in 2018 and mainly produced golf bags, sports gear, gloves, and related products. People online said you could tell right away that these products were mainly for the US and European markets. The effects of the US-China trade war are also starting to show. These are just the first companies to fall. On the same day, another person posted a video showing a machine processing factory in Shanghai shutting down, with a lot of CNC machines being sold off. The factory looked like an older one, and the equipment seemed pretty outdated. But the boss didn't run away. He stayed and even gave workers an N+1 compensation package. A commenter from Guangdong side, "This year is so tough. Our factory has also been shut down for days. We're still waiting for updates, and we don't know if it'll close too." On April 13th, someone in Fujian posted a video and said, "Everything seemed fine at work yesterday. Today, the factory just suddenly shut down. It's hard to believe such a large factory could fall overnight. I wonder how many more will close this year." A person from Hubei replied, "That's normal. Yesterday, we were still working overtime. This morning, all the machines were gone." Someone from Guangdong also said, "With tariffs going up, a lot of factories are shutting down." Experts say the mass shutdowns in the manufacturing industry mark the beginning of a structural decline in China's manufacturing sector. As the US-China tariff war drags on, the combination of high tariffs and weak global demand is hitting small and medium-sized businesses hard. Manufacturing is now quietly collapsing. This sudden crisis is dangerous because it's hard to detect, but could keep spreading throughout the real economy. Dongguan, Guangdong, was once a symbol of China's global manufacturing power, known for its labor-intensive industries and export-driven economy. It was even called the world's factory. In recent years, though, it had already been declining because of supply chain shifts. Now, the trade war has hit it even harder. Recently, a long-established company, Dongguan Dehong Electric Appliance Manufacturing, which had been around for 18 years, announced a halt in production and a month-long shutdown. The company said that because of the US tariffs and changes in the global economy, orders had dried up. Workers were put on leave starting April 11th. According to reports, Dehong said business might resume after customers and suppliers renegotiate prices, but the situation right now is grim. Dehong was founded in 2007. It focused on developing, manufacturing, and selling home appliances, with all its products exported to the US and Europe. American economist David J. Wong pointed out that Dongguan wasn't just a hub for early Taiwanese and Japanese investments. It was also a major supporting base for Shenzhen's electronics industry. It was seen as a leader of Made in China. If even big factories in Dongguan can't survive, it shows that China's manufacturing sector is shrinking. Dehong shutdown is just the tip of the iceberg for the manufacturing crisis happening across the Pearl River Delta. On April 25th, hundreds of workers continued protesting at Huizhou Huayang Ao Electric Appliance Company. They had been protesting for almost a month.
Yeah, Tiffany Cross, China is our ally. China is our ally.
The trouble started when, on April 1st, the company suddenly announced a 2-month shutdown and barred workers from entering the factory. Workers were furious and demanded compensation. Some workers said that over the past year, the company had already started shifting some orders to other plants in the group and changed working hours to a standard 8-hour day with weekends off, causing their income to drop sharply. Many longtime workers who had been there for over 20 years said the company was using the shutdown as a way to lay people off without severance. Public records show that Yuangao Electric was founded in 1992 and is part of Taiwan's Wesco Group. It specializes in making ceiling fans and lighting, with all products sold overseas. Ironically, just a few days earlier, Chinese state media had praised Huizhou's trade performance, reporting that the city's imports and exports rose by 6.9% over the past 2 months. Yuangao Electric was even mentioned as a standout company. The company's deputy general manager, Gu Mingfeng, said exports grew by about 9% in the first 2 months. He said they had invested heavily in R&D to boost their competitiveness, and their products mainly went to the US and Europe. But now, after the US-China tariff war, all that competitiveness seems to have vanished, and the company is stuck in a shutdown. The escalation of the US-China trade war has started to hit major export hubs along China's southeast coast. In provinces like Guangdong, Zhejiang, and Jiangsu, millions of export factories are facing a wave of mass shutdowns because orders from the US have almost completely dried up. Right now, in China's textile industry, people are saying that after the May Day holiday, more than half of the textile factories will take extended breaks. China is the world's largest textile producer. About a third of its products go directly to the US, and another third are shipped through Southeast Asian countries before entering the US market. That means about 60% of China's textile exports are tied to the US. So this round of tariffs has been a huge blow to garment manufacturing and export businesses. A business owner from Guangdong, who runs an export clothing factory, said his factory has 20 containers stuck in the Shenzhen port, more than 10 containers dragged back to the industrial base, and another 10 containers switched to domestic sales at the port. Some workers said that the trade war has already forced shutdowns for factories making shoes, jeans, power outlets, and portable stoves. Some business owners said they were cutting back on overtime and weekend shifts.
After what Trump did, everything here has stopped. Factories focusing on the US market, look, so many have shut down. Factories are about to go under. What can we even do?
Protesting government.
Just look at how hard business is now. No orders, and we're being sent on leave again. Last year, we barely managed to make a living, but this year it's completely gone. There are no orders at all. All the workers have been sent home. Where did all those big clients and big orders go? What happened? Hey everyone, just look at this. No work, no money. This year it's especially hard to find a job. Look at our workshop. It's cleaner than a face.
Didn't people say CNC factories are super busy now? But just look, the machines are all shut down. Everything stopped here too.
Recently, many people working in labor recruitment have also posted videos saying that most factories have stopped hiring.
I really didn't expect this. This afternoon, I didn't do anything but receive notices about factory hiring freezes, one after another non-stop. It felt like a factory shutting down every minute. In Tianjin alone, factories making circuit boards, biscuit packaging, electronics, and bread have all stopped. Even a switch factory in Wuqing shut down. And that's just Tianjin. Factories in Beijing, Shandong, Jiangsu, they're all stopping too. In Shanghai, out of 4 cosmetics factories, 3 have already shut down.
I never thought this could happen, but even Kunshan Lijian has stopped hiring. Just look behind me. Once this place stops hiring, it means there are no factories left in Kunshan.
Recently, in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, a lot of factories have stopped hiring. Most places are already at full shutdown.
Please, don't come to Guangdong anymore. It's way too hard to find a job here this year. It's only April, and most factories have already stopped hiring.
You look like an anime character.
Right now, a lot of factories are close to shutting down. Even factories in Jiangsu and Zhejiang aren't doing well. It used to be that factories couldn't find enough workers. Now, they aren't even hiring because there are no orders.
Analysts warn that if China and the US can't quickly return to negotiations, and if the trade war continues to worsen, China's export manufacturing sector will suffer even greater damage. damage. People in the industry are worried that long-term trade tensions could reshape global supply chains. Chinese export businesses will have to speed up their transformation to survive. Some companies are trying to explore new markets or adjust their product lines, but in the short term, it's hard to make up for the loss of the US and European markets. The future of the US-China trade war will have a deep impact on the global economy and the stability of supply chains. When asked whether more factory closures are coming, Davy J. Wong said it's not so much a wave of bankruptcies as a collapse one after another. He explained that many factories are not officially bankrupt. Instead, they have chosen to stop production, lay off workers, or operate at a very low capacity. They are still half-dead state. This kind of situation often gets missed in official statistics because companies may still keep their business registrations and signage, even though they've massively cut staff or shut down operations. He said, "This silent collapse is the scariest. It's like a virus quietly spreading." Wang warned that this hidden crisis shows no clear signs and is hard to guard against, but it could keep spreading in the real economy. Small and medium private businesses are especially vulnerable, facing crushing pressure from both high tariffs and weak domestic demand, with almost no way out. Recently, the news of the death of textile boss Bi Guangjun shocked the textile industry in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Late at night on April 16th, Bi Guangjun, founder of Jindianzi Textile, ended his life at the age of 56, leaving behind a cloud of debt and silence across the industry.
Wow.
Bi Guangjun was considered a legend in Zhejiang's textile world. Born in 1968 in Wenzhou to an ordinary family, he had no connections to wealthy circles. In 1991, at the age of 23, he borrowed 5,000 yuan and opened a tiny 8-square-meter stall called Guangjun Fabric Shop in Keqiao Textile.
I hate to say it. I mean, it's not funny. It's rather sad that because their leadership doesn't want to play fair with the World Trade Organization, most particularly the United States, that this is what's going on. This guy killed himself. There's no telling how many, I know YouTube probably will ding me for that, but I don't care. No telling how many other people who've owned factories or businesses or whatnot. I mean, we see they're feeling the crunch. They're just reporting on one person. I can only imagine how many have gone unreported because the CCP, they like to suppress information. Their media is very suppressive.
City. In 1995, he realized that China lacked Korean-style polka dot fabrics. He bet everything he had to import a production line and spent 3 days and nights working with his team to perfect the technique so the fabric would not warp under high temperatures. When the first batch of perfect fabric hit the market, he sold 5 million meters in a year and made his first 5 million yuan. From there, Jindianzi Textile became famous, and he was called the king of printed fabrics in Keqiao. Over the next 3 years, Bi Guangjun built his business from a small shop into a textile empire covering 21 companies, working with brands like Peacebird and Zara, and reaching over 1 billion yuan in annual revenue. But behind the success was endless hardship. In 2024, the textile market became wildly unstable. By 2025, the US-China tariff war delivered an even deadlier blow to the industry. In the end, Bi Guangjun could not survive the crisis. His death.
You know what happened in 2024? Was back when I had the Embrace Villainy channel. I know you guys want to hear this. You don't want to hear me. Back when I had the Embrace Villainy channel for 1.5 years, it was really since the time I opened that channel, all I covered was crime. And a lot of the crime that was happening to like small stores, not just mom and pops, but like small chains. These small chain stores, especially those that sold either high to medium luxury items. Remember I was showing the videos, you had the squad of young black teenagers, both boys and girls, that would run in and snatch the stuff right off of the shelves and everything. I mean, they would just clean a store out. I mean, that was just happening, and the news just couldn't keep up with it because it was just so much crime taking place. But what happened was those stores started shutting down. They started shutting down like about, I would say, around this time last year. They started shutting down. So therefore, the orders that he was supplying to the United States, kaput, gone. You have not only that, people were still starting to feel the financial crunch. How many malls do we know of that have shut down? Not just because of online shopping. I mean, of course, that's part of it, but also because of crime and because of the economy. You saw a lot of malls shut down because of that. You saw a lot of stores shut down because really, not just to blame it on young black teenagers, but you saw a lot. It was a contributing factor. It was a contributing factor. Then you had the DAs were soft on crime. It was ridiculous. So yeah, I understand why he was feeling the crunch. And a lot of people who were shipping their goods here that were targets of theft, stores that are being shut down. I understand it. I get it. They're trying to sell their stuff online now when the orders aren't coming in because the stores buy your stuff in bulk. You understand? They'll buy dozens of dresses, pants, shirts, whatever, in different sizes just to hang them up on the racks and hope that they sell. So that he got his money. Once that order goes through, he shipped it, the credit card swipe, he got his money. But now that that's not happening, that stopped happening. People talking about some buy it online. He can't move merchandise like that. It's not feeding him. It's not feeding his family. It's not feeding the store owner. It's feeding Amazon. Amazon is eating off of online orders. Jeff Bezos made a killing during COVID. These guys suffered, and they're suffering now. Right now, they're suffering because of their government.
Death was a personal and family tragedy and reflected the harsh reality facing China's textile industry in 2025. Even before the trade war, China's manufacturing sector was already struggling with intense over-competition and shrinking profits. A factory owner in Kunshan described the difficulties faced.
I mean, you know what? Yeah, you actually did bring up an interesting point, the weave stores. Because a lot of the hair products that women buy, of course, come from China, Taiwan, whatnot. We'll see what's actually going on. We'll see. We'll see here in the United States when black women start complaining about them not being able to get their weave. But then again, they did strike a deal with India. They just have to sign the paperwork. And a lot of that hair, not only does it, a lot of beauty products come from China, but a lot of that hair stuff, the hair products, come from India, if I'm not mistaken. So the U.S. signed in the deal with India, cool. You can continue to wear your horse. Say Michigan closed. Yeah, they closed down 4 malls. Yeah, no different than say black women made it in the trillions. Yeah, like no different than them closing down all those Walmarts. No different.
By manufacturers perfectly.
The situation now is that we're using equipment worth millions to make just a few cents of profit. If you don't upgrade your machines, you can't get orders. But if you do upgrade, you have no money left because everything is tied up in equipment. Big orders bring low profits, small orders have tiny volumes. If you stick with old customers, there are no new orders. If you try to develop new customers, making samples costs you money. If you want to shift to a new business, you don't know where to go. If you try to stay as you are, there's no future. If you tough it out, you feel completely uncertain. But if you quit, it's hard to let go.
A cotton sock factory owner said helplessly, even if you sell out everything, you still don't make money because competitors are selling at even lower prices. In Zhuji's Dachang Sock City, once a thriving hub for small sock factories, the scene is now deserted. A woman who had been making socks for 30 years said this spring only one customer came by. They bought one package, 100 pairs. I made about 2 or 3 cents per pair. I can't even cover the rent. Inventory pileups and broken cash flows have become normal. Another business owner said that a customer placed an order worth 1 million yuan last year, but still hasn't paid. Meanwhile, 2 million yuan worth of unsold inventory is weighing the factory down. The problems facing the clothing industry come from many pressures: rising costs, fewer orders, cutthroat pricing, and the impact of e-commerce. Factories want stability, but brands are chasing viral bestsellers. Fragmented orders and inventory risks are pushed onto the factories. The situation of bad products pushing out good ones is getting worse. High-quality goods are being squeezed out by cheap knockoffs. A woman who owns a women's clothing factory complained, "We set our price at 100 yuan, but factories in Guangdong can sell the same thing for 60 yuan. Even we can't tell the real ones from the fakes." This kind of brutal competition leaves factories with no good options: either take orders and lose money or have no business at all. Some people pointed out that the problem in China now isn't just about one industry. The entire manufacturer is bleeding out, shaking the very foundation of China's economy, and becoming the trigger for a larger crisis. For years, under government policies, China's manufacturing relied on cheap labor and low environmental standards to grab a foothold in global markets with low prices. That's how China earned the title the world's factory. But this aggressive pricing hurt global economies and caused backlash from the US and Europe, leading to today's crisis. As a woman explained in a video,
Have
you noticed that it feels like the whole world is pushing back against us? The real reason is that our low-price strategy scared them. Our company's approach is simple: enter a new market and slash prices. Take socks, for example. In Europe and the US, a pair used to sell for $20 and everyone made good money. But when we showed up and priced them at $5, we wiped out the profits for everyone else. So of course they started resisting. When you corner others with no way out, it might look like you're winning at first, but it actually hides a huge crisis. In the end, it could leave us isolated. The crisis in China's manufacturing sector is a silent war, and it's the first eruption of years of deep structural problems. The ongoing escalation of the US-China trade war has only sped up the collapse. The fall of manufacturing isn't just an isolated problem. It's a reflection of a broader breakdown in China's economic system. The old model of driving growth through investment and exports has completely failed. New industries are nowhere near strong enough to support the economy. Small businesses can't get financing. Big companies are afraid to invest. Private businesses have lost confidence. The stock market is slumping. Waves of unemployment and shrinking consumer spending are feeding into each other, creating a vicious cycle. On the surface, China's GDP numbers might still look impressive, but the real economy is already falling apart. Without fixing the deep, systemic problems, any policy now is just delaying the inevitable collapse.
It looks like if China doesn't fix this whole trade situation, this tariff situation, they are ripe for revolution. They are ripe for an uprising. It's going to be the military against its own people. They are not well. Let's just be honest. They are not well. Not well. Let's see. Here's all the scam. Top global brands made in China. Luxury dumps. Counterfeit luxury. Yeah. Let's take a look at this. This was 2 days ago, where they were talking about
which Chinese factory supplies Louis Vuitton? Let me tell you the secret. Louis Vuitton have.
This is where they were talking about. Really, it's the retailers here in the United States that throw these prices, these outrageous prices on these things, but they make them super cheap. Let's take a look. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Let's get into it.
Many Chinese supplies, but they don't admit it. 50% of Louis Vuitton bags are made in these two places, Guangzhou City and Dongguan City. And 90% of Louis Vuitton silk is Wang Shili from Hangzhou. I have a friend who is a manager in the factory of Louis Vuitton, and he told me the similar quality can be made for just $50. That's so crazy, right? Who are the supplier behind the Lululemon? Number one, Xianglong Apparel, who supplies the most yoga suits. They are also the OEM factory for Fila and Andermatt. And number two, Hongqi Clothing, also make yoga suits for Lululemon. If you are looking for a supplier of sportswear, just contact me. And if you want to know which brands are Chinese suppliers, let me know in the...
Recently, a series of short videos shot and uploaded by Chinese factories on TikTok have gone viral on social media worldwide. These videos claim that several international luxury brands brand's products are manufactured in Chinese factories, suggesting that US consumers can directly purchase from China to bypass the high tariffs imposed by the Trump administration.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very low. What I'm really proud of is that first, we have the best quality control. Two, we have the best craftsmanship. You know, Chinese craftsmen are always intelligent and diligent. Three, we have the most complete supply chain. We always get what we want, like zippers, accessories of any kind, any color, and leathers immediately. Now, as the USA and its little European brothers are trying to refuse Chinese goods, don't you think luxury brands are not trying to move their OEM out of China?
Did you hear what he said about Europe? They're little. He said it with such disdain. America, they're little European brothers. That's funny. That's funny. I'm sorry. I caught that. I thought it was funny. Let's go. Sorry.
Yes, they did, but they failed because the OEM factories out of China, they don't have good quality control and they don't have as good craftsmanship. Their workers are either too expensive or too lazy. Three, they don't have any supply chain. They always have trouble getting leather or zippers or any accessories. That is why they failed, and that is why we will always be the best OEM factory for luxury brands. Why don't you just contact us and buy from us? You won't believe the prices we give you.
According to reports, these videos were uploaded between April 10th and 15th and features English subtitles or voiceovers. The videos are presented by individuals claiming to be Chinese manufacturers or people with connections to executives in luxury good factories. The content of these videos suggests that products from brands such as Louis Vuitton, Lululemon, and Hermes are produced in China with manufacturing costs far below their retail prices. The video also provide links or website names claiming that consumers can buy similar quality luxury items for just $5 or $6. In a short time, these videos amassed over 2 billion views. Media observers have noted that the timing, content arrangement, and format of the uploads all appear highly coordinated, suggesting a central operation behind the scene.
Did you see that? Take a look at this. Hold on. You see that? He got these Hermes bags going for $20. I wonder how many women were on this site. And here's the links where you can get the stuff at dirt cheap prices, straight from the manufacturers. Again, all you got to do is pay for shipping. Woo! Yeah, and yes, the CCP was pissed.
Items for just $5 or $6. In a short time, these videos amassed over 2 billion views. Media observers have noted that the timing, content arrangement, and format of the uploads all appear highly coordinated, suggesting a central operation behind the scenes. Experts are cautioning consumers to think twice before engaging in these videos. The reliability, authenticity, and security of these ads are all highly questionable. Inga Tralfik, a cybersecurity professor at Florida State University, said that many of the videos repeat certain messages, such as claiming that China has the best supply chain, which raises suspicions. A major red flag is that some different accounts are promoting the same so-called manufacturer, with few followers, and some of these accounts only started posting videos a few days ago. These accounts are reposting the same videos, with some profiles lacking pictures, usernames being random, and posts appearing odd. These accounts may be bots.
Well,
He stated that new accounts, as well as accounts followed by a suspected bot account, suggest that they might be part of a promotional campaign. The quality of the videos or audio is flawed, which also indicates that these defects may have occurred due to the mass reproduction of the videos. Tralfik explains what the Chinese are trying to convey in this video is that amidst the trade war between China and the US, it's not our fault. We can provide anything you want at a lower price. This is an attempt to shift the blame to the US government. It is still unclear whether these videos were created by Chinese manufacturers themselves or are part of a Chinese government propaganda campaign.
Do they think that by selling high, let me check that. Do they think they're selling pricey items here in the United States on their TikToks and websites at cost? Do they think that we find fault in that as America? Oh, I'll be damned. You mean to tell me I can only pay $30 for these Jordans? Man, I'm pissed. I'm so mad at Trump. They got that all backwards.
According to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, whether or not these videos were produced by Chinese manufacturers, a supply chain and operation management lecturer at the University of British Columbia, Samuel Roscoe, stated that some of the posts roughly describe how supply chains operate. Factories in China or other regions often receive contracts from North America brands to produce specific products such as running shoes. The brand provides design sketches and the Chinese factories produce the product, which is then shipped to distribution centers in the West. Roscoe noted that the price consumers see on store shelves is likely 50% to 100% higher than the price the brands paid to the factory.
Yeah, it's a market.
TikTok has not responded to CBC's request for comment. The platform prohibits the sale of counterfeit goods and states that it bans the posting of misleading or false content. Lululemon emailed CBC stating that the company does indeed work with suppliers in multiple countries, including China, and about 3% of its finished products are made there. However, the company confirmed Lululemon does not work with the manufacturers mentioned in the online videos, and we urge consumers to be cautious of potential counterfeit products and misinformation, according to a spokesperson.
That's
so
what Google
far,
is for.
neither Hermes nor LV has responded to request for comment. Hermes states on its website that its production is primarily in France, with additional production sites in Switzerland, Italy, the UK, the US, Portugal, and Australia. LV says its products are made in France, Italy, Spain, the US, and Switzerland. Roscoe suggests that if these TikTok accounts are indeed run by manufacturers, some of them may have produced extra running shoes or leggings during their contract period and are now selling those directly to consumers. Some posts don't claim to have contracts with the brands, but instead state that their workers can produce identical products at a much lower price. Selling excess products or counterfeit items without authorization would violate intellectual property rights. Roscoe says that if manufacturers working with major brands like Lululemon are posting such videos, they are taking a significant risk, as these brands would quickly cut off access to these factories. Even if consumers were to order from links shared by these TikTok accounts, Behrouz Bakhtiari, an assistant professor at McMaster University de Groot School of Business in Ontario, said that these videos might only tell part of the story. For example, a promotional video may advertise a pair of jeans for $1.30, but the price is likely the wholesale cost for hundreds or thousands of pairs, not the retail price for just one or two pairs. Bakhtiari also pointed out that it's unlikely that US consumers can bypass tariffs, as some claim. The US imposes a 145% tariff on all goods from China except for a few items like electronics, which were later excluded by Trump. Bakhtiari says even if you only buy one pair of jeans, you will still have to pay the tariff. Although Canada does not impose tariffs on Chinese clothing, purchasing products from these TikTok accounts still carries security risk. Traffic warns against ordering from any of these sites, as consumers will be sharing their personal data and credit card information. A report from French newspaper Libération on April 18th bluntly stated that these videos using the tariff dispute as an excuse have become a platform for Chinese high-end counterfeits manufacturers to launch a promotional campaign. The report highlighted how such actions show contempt for intellectual property rights and noted that the growing concern within the industry about the rise of alternative luxury goods in France in recent years. French news broadcast television and radio network BFM TV commented that Chinese manufacturers are revealing the luxury goods industry as a guise for promoting counterfeit products, directing consumers to the Chinese e-commerce platform DHgate through links in the videos.
I'm sorry. Do she know who she? Americans love counterfeit. I mean, do understand the majority of the people who buy these bags, these items, these high ticket items are people who shouldn't be buying them. I'll never forget, it was a story almost 10 years ago. Some dude working some minimum wage job went to go buy a $400 belt. I think it was a Louis Vuitton belt or something. Y'all might remember this story. I was living in Ohio when this happened. He went to go spend $400 on a Louis Vuitton belt and he got detained. Because they like, what is you doing in here? Smelling like burgers and fries. Talking about buying a belt. They had to check his papers. Because yeah, he was black. But I mean, you look back on it now and it's like, dude, like, please don't tell me you're spending your hard-earned money. You don't even own a car. Probably staying with your mama. He was young too. And you about to waste $400 on the Louis? I understand it's your money, but $400 on the Louis Vuitton belt? Because we, as a people, like to wear, quote unquote, wear our wealth on our back instead of putting it up, investing it, dressing modestly. I mean, look, I'm not clothes shaming anybody. Y'all can do whatever you want to do. It's your money. It's your money. Do what you want to do. It's not a decision I would make, but I'm not the one that's got to wear it. I'm not the one that's got to live your life. I don't have to pay your bills or anything like that. It's just, it's a head-scratching decision. But yeah, trust me. Look, I mean, Temu was killing it for a reason. This website that they're talking about, killing it for a reason. Please, people have no problems wearing a knockoff brand if it can pass.
The platform recently saw its download numbers surge, ranking second in the US Google Play Store, just behind ChatGPT. And it also rose to sixth place in France. French newspaper El Figaro pointed out that DHgate has a luxury bags category, indicating that TikTok videos have successfully converted into sales channels. Sandrine Zabig, a professor at a French business school and a China market expert, analyzed that this phenomenon reflects how Chinese manufacturers excel at leveraging geopolitical uncertainty, particularly consumer anxiety amidst the trade war, to rapidly expand their overseas customer base. Zabib noted that these videos target Generation Z, millennials, and active TikTok users, saying most of them know they are buying counterfeit goods, but they don't mind. She added, China is currently the main source of counterfeit globally, with around 75% of counterfeit goods circulating in Europe, Japan, and the US originating from China. She also called on luxury brands to reflect on their supply chain management and information transparency to address consumer concerns about the manufacturing processes in the industry. An American economist, David Huang, pointed out that Chinese merchants may use third countries to sell counterfeit or subpar goods disguised as high-end products to US buyers, which is a new form of selling inferior goods as high-end. He explained that Chinese merchants claiming to directly order through TikTok videos often claim to bypass brands, owners, and tariff regulations. However,
I know y'all saw that dude with the ski mask on, right? Oh, let me see if we can find that dude. I saw a dude with a ski mask
goods as high-end. He explained that Chinese merchants claiming to directly order through TikTok videos.
There you go. I knew I saw a dude with a ski mask on. I guess Hitmen are advertising on TikTok now. You need your neighbor's leg broken, you hit me, DJ Gissy.
Often claim to bypass brands, owners, and tariff regulations. However, with the US set to end tariff exemptions for packages under $800 starting May 2nd, this business model could face challenges. According to an executive order announced by the White House on April 9th, packages arriving between May 2nd and June 1st will incur a $100 fee per item, up from the previously planned $75. After June 1st, packages will be charged $200 per item instead of the previously announced $150. A previous report from the Shenzhen Cross-Border E-Commerce Association noted that tariffs have delivered an unprecedented blow, making it impossible for Chinese merchants to evade taxes during the small package procedure under the new US policy. Wang said these goods are likely to be shipped from third country warehouses via small packages and sent point to point through TikTok and other platforms, but avoiding tariff is difficult. Some merchants may try to use TikTok's so-called digital smuggling to avoid taxes, but this carries high risk, and the US has already started to close this loophole. He emphasized that this is an unsustainable and unstable form of trade, which is just a short-term gray area activity filled with risks. He added that Chinese merchants producing these videos aim first to quickly monetize by acquiring overseas user data to sell to third parties, while also engaging in decentralized cross-border transactions via digital channels, including digital currencies. Wang warned that young US people have a strong demand for cheap direct shipping products. However, he cautioned that merchants using this method can gather a vast amount of personal information with a greater potential for these activities to serve the Chinese government's intelligence gathering purposes. So the question remains, are the globally famous luxury goods and high-end clothing brands produced in China? Has China always been counterfeiting these products, or is it truly acting as a subcontractor for these brands? This is a question that many are keen to understand. Let's take a look at the hub of counterfeit goods. A Chinese netizen passing through a shop in Fujian went inside to take a look and found items from big brands like LV and Adidas, shoes and clothing. He secretly snapped a photo and asked the store clerk, "What's going on here? Are these all counterfeit consumer goods?"
Of course.
And the netizen commented, "These are low-quality counterfeits. If you look closely, you'll know. I can take you to the Putian market to pick up goods. They have all sorts of versions much better than this." Another netizen sarcastically responded, "Not following the rules, and this is why you're not welcome anywhere. This has caused a lot of trouble for the greater leader trying to build a community of shared destiny for humanity." Next, let's take a look at a video from a mainland Chinese business owner who mocks others making A-grade counterfeits. The video might make you chuckle.
几百块钱就敢号称超 A， 就敢跟我比，就敢跟专柜比。
These Super A fakes, sold for a few hundred yuan, think they can match me? Compete with high-end stores? Let's tear one apart and see what it's got. Slice it open. Boom, cardboard inside. Just as I thought. Check this piece. PU leather, a layer of cowhide, domestic sponge with a funky smell. Watch out, some cheap sponges can even leak toxins. Then there's water-spun fabric, another layer of it, plus a shoe sole base. At least they use cowhide, not PU. But that smelly sponge, water-spun fabric, and PU mix, that's their Super A, claiming to rival store originals. Why such junky materials? Counterfeits need 5 or 8 times the profit to bother. Our stuff, imported Montbell-like sponge, sheepskin surface, quality inside and out. That's what matches the real deal. Oh, and get this, the metal bits, iron, not zinc alloy like I assumed. Zinc's 8 yuan, iron's 30 cents. Iron chains for 8 yuan. That's their Super A, supposedly passing in fancy stores. You get what you pay for. Don't fall for cheap deals. A real store piece runs 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. To match that value, you need original factory leather, stainless steel fittings, and imported sheepskin lining. Feel this, soft as butter. Now feel this fake, stiff as a board. These are just shoddy scraps slapped together with sloppy work, trying to fake my careful high-quality craft. They've got no clue what real quality means.
That's what, I mean, to reiterate, Kevin O'Leary, because he's been on CNN along with Scott Jennings and whatnot, and Shermichael, and they've been talking about these tariffs, and he's like, good, like I want them 450%. He wants to cripple China's business because as he was saying, he has factories in China, and people are counterfeiting his goods. his goods and services, and he can't take them to court in China. China refuses to prosecute these people or let an American company or an outside company sue these people for stealing his IP and then counterfeiting the work. Plus, they also ship that stuff here. So this is what he was talking about. But you have to understand, it's not, if there wasn't such a demand for people to fake it till they make it, then the counterfeiters wouldn't be able to get away with what they're doing. Flat out.
Recently, Chinese social media platforms have also featured related videos with English voiceovers claiming that counterfeit luxury goods made in China have entered the US in large quantities. The video shows various genuine luxury brands' products while displaying a message saying Americans who ordered luxury goods from China have received their shipments. So this is the tactic China uses to expose luxury brands. Okay, but the DH girl already told you all. She told you long ago, A-grade counterfeits are the same as a real thing. They are all identical in every way. I get it. Listen, I don't care if these luxury brands are real or fake. You all can do whatever you want because someone will always buy it. A netizen commented, this video is fake. Counterfeit products shipped to places like Europe, America, or Japan would never have the real brand logo on them. If customs catches them, not only will the goods be confiscated, but the recipient will also be at risk. A netizen from Shanghai's financial sector revealed some insider knowledge about luxury goods manufacturing. For China, the world's factory producing luxury goods without technical expertise is no challenge, even for top-tier products like Hermes Birkin bags. For Chinese manufacturers, the only consideration about whether to produce counterfeit luxury good is the profit. Counterfeits are divided into categories. For example, with LV bags, they are typically classified as A-grade counterfeits, high-quality counterfeit or original OEM products. A-grade refers to the lowest quality. Rough counterfeits usually priced around a few dozen yuan. High-quality counterfeits vary greatly in quality. The best ones have real stitching, and all the accessories are sourced as closely as possible to the original. For example, the metal chain on the bags might be sourced from Japan, and the straps may come from a European factory. If a bag can't get original leather from the factory, the manufacturer may use domestic leather, but it will still be the highest quality version among all domestic options. These bags typically cost around 1,000 to 2,000 yuan, with higher prices for smaller batches. Original OEM refers to products that were leaked from the factory that makes the genuine items. These goods, regardless of how they leave the factory, are considered authentic. Such items are rare, and even if available, are expensive and unlikely to be affordable. Currently, the main production and wholesale base for LV counterfeits is in Guangdong. Over the year, about 50 to 60 large-scale manufacturers have emerged, but only around 10 can produce counterfeits comparable to the quality of the originals. So, don't think you can buy high-quality counterfeit luxury goods on TikTok because price dictates quality. Manufacturers aren't going to do business at a loss. The goods that cost a few dollars or tens of dollars are just the roughest counterfeits. As for whether internationally famous luxury goods are manufactured in China, absolutely. Are OEM products leaking out onto the market? Yes, but you won't be able to buy them.
Wow, ain't it? So, let's see here. Should we do one more? Here, look, I'm going to put the link in the description box here because I'm going on 3 days in a row of having to be up at least 8 o'clock, no later than 8:30. I had 2 doctor's appointments, really one. Yesterday I showed funny story and totally my fault. My doctor's appointment was for today at 10 o'clock. So, but I had to be up about 8:30 because, I got to take care of the house before I leave. So Monday night, it was after midnight. I'm in bed. I'm looking at my phone and I see it say April 29th. And I'm like, don't I have something? What's up, No News? I'm like, don't I have somewhere to be in the morning? And I was like, oh man, my doctor's appointment. So I set the alarms. I ran downstairs. I ironed my clothes and everything, hung them up. Came back up, jumped in the bed, couldn't hardly get any sleep. Finally woke up, got to the hospital and everything, ready to check in. And the girl was like, well, what's your number? Because I can't find you. What's your number? I gave my phone number. She was like, your appointment is for tomorrow, which is today. We just smiled at each other like this. I was like, I'll see you tomorrow. But like, wait, well, let me validate your parking. So she validated my parking. So this morning I show up, I was like, back again. She's like, how you doing? Yeah, but I got news, but I'll be okay. Overall, it's up to me, but I'll be okay. Which explains why I was like, y'all know I didn't do any videos last week. Now, at least I know what's wrong. Because I wasn't doing too well, but now I know. But I'll be okay. It's like I said, it's up to me. Yeah, but I'm getting out of here. We going to we got a video game store to go to in the morning. Me and the homeboy. I promised him I'd help him out with that. So he said he'd be here at 9. I need to eat, but I will. Look, here's what I want to do. Trump did an interview with ABC News where he had to jump in the guy's crap because he was being silly and ridiculous, worse than Caitlin Collins. So, but I posted the link there in case y'all want to check it out, watch the videos for yourselves. But yeah, China is they're suffering. There's oh my God, their infrastructure, like their physical infrastructure is collapsing. Their infrastructure is so bad. I mean, an apartment complex, only a building lasts 15 years. That's pathetic. Plus, they scammed Thailand. You say Trump is hilarious on ABC News. Yeah, he was. I saw some of the clips, but I need to do the whole interview. But yeah, they scammed Thailand with fake metal. China scammed Thailand with fake metal. That earthquake that hit them earlier this month exposed a lot. Oh my God. Because remember, their buildings, a whole lot of their buildings collapsed and everything. Woohoo, scandal. But, that's China. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Yeah, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Keep your eye out for it. Y'all should know I'm always on at 9 o'clock. Just look for it. Whether you get it or not, just look for it. Anyway, I'll catch you.
You're fired. And in case your ears are fucked, get the fuck out! And the next person I see juggling, tap dancing, or baton twirling, or doing any other circus-like tricks will join him, all right? One strike policy applies. Now get back to work! God damn, that felt good.
All right, bye! Thanks for the fun!